Alright folks, how are we doing? It's Shabash, it's Orna, and technically Hero of Aethric as well. I know a lot of you guys have been patiently waiting for this particular video of the Summoner class line progression, and thank you all so much for waiting and being patient. Really appreciate it. There is timestamps in the description to skip ahead to each of the Summoner class tiers, so please feel free to check those out if you immediately know what you want to look at. I'll go over the class skills and passives and talk a little bit about some starting equipment at each tier as well. Now, my main reasons for waiting a while for this video have mainly been that with the new class line introduced only in September 2022, there was quite some balance changes to be expected, and there were quite a few early on, but it is stabilized now. And also, more importantly, perhaps regarding gear and equipment, because for the first few months there was really only event type summoner gear available, which of course is not going to be available to all of you all year round. So I've been waiting quite a while to do it, but now there is some pretty much stable base equipment available in the game for summoners from tier 7 onwards. So without any further ado, let's light a fire under this and get started. Now, the Summoner class line is unique to the other classes in that we have to complete an NPC quest at tier 7 to unlock the class line with the Attuner class. It is also free of Orns, you don't need to pay Orns for Attuner. You just have to hand in a set of standard quality Attuner gear available from the arena or any other PvP type equipment, PvP type battle, sorry. Hand that into Horus NPC and you get access to the Attuner class. Now, if you're lucky, you should get this gear within 15 or 20 kills or so at the arena. The hardest thing, especially in Aethric at the moment, is actually finding Horus NPC in the first place. The higher tier classes are more expensive than normal classes though, and overall, up to tier 10, you'll pay more than normal classes for Ords, but a little bit less than God classes. The Summoner class line's major difference to all other classes in Orna is that your followers are not able to be used with any of these classes. You can't use pets. Basically, if you have a pet equipped and you switch to a Summoner type class, it will be sent home to the keep or your home in Aethric. And of course, we obviously have summons to make up for this, which are typically animal type monsters that appear in the game as regular monsters or bosses, such as the Arcane Slime, and Warg at tier 7 here. Now, playing solo, you can have up to 5 summons in battle at once. In party play, drop this number by however many other party members you're playing with. Most summon skills are learnt from the classes as usual. However, some useful summon skills have appeared during events in Arcanist skill shops, such as during the Hallowed event, so definitely keep your eye out for that, because the last time around there were some relatively godlike summon skills compared to what was available at other tiers. Some other general class line summary points are as follows. Each summoner class can wield equipment of both mage and summoner varieties, thankfully. There is summoner specific gear. Each higher tier abilities and gear focuses on making your summons stronger in general, and each class has relatively low HP specifically, but also other general stat types as well than other classes available at your tier. Except for Foresight, you'll have higher Foresight than other classes, allowing you to go first generally in all party play. So it's generally recommended to focus on summon strength for all the classes up until later on in tier 10, where you can start also focusing on magic to deal heavy damage ourselves with skills such as Blood Pact, which sacrifices a portion of your health, a portion of your summon's health, it converts that into damage. Until then, we can always deal supplementary magic damage where possible, but most efficient turn economy is usually going to be making our summons stronger with buffs and keeping ourselves alive. So let's start off then with the tier 7 Attuner class costing 0 Orns. Just got to find Horus and hand him some tuning gear. Other thing to note is you will have less skill slots available than other classes as well, so we do need to be really on point with the skills that we use. And we'll go over the abilities first as usual. So starting off with Paired Essence, when beginning a battle, your first equipped summon spell is occasionally automatically casted. This means that for some battles, usually most battles, you will have your first equipped summon skill automatically there in battle. So in this case, I've got Summon Slime, basically whatever's in the top left, most skill slot, that will be occasionally automatically cast in battle. So it's generally recommended that you use your skills, your summons that takes multi-turn skills because it saves turns having to summon them. We then have Elysian Balance. You are in tune with Elysian Arts, dealing additional holy and dark damage. Now, this is, at the moment, in my opinion, more of a thematic theme rather than like a practical use case, because this only really applies to ourselves doing holy or dark damage to our enemies. And as you may have noticed by now, there's a lot of enemies in the game which are resist or immune to holy and dark damage. So I've not really seen any meta builds taking this into account, and Elysian Balance is kind of throughout the entire class line as well. So maybe in the future we can, there will be more builds looking at holy and dark damage, but it is there for all of the classes, and we're not really going to mention it any more than that. We also have Elysian Guidelight, which means your summons will follow you from floor to floor in dungeons. Basically, this was introduced because when Summoner class was made into the game, summons did not continue over dungeon floors. You had to resummon them every single time, every single floor, which obviously not such a nice mechanic. So it's added as a class passive. I mean, I personally think that should really have been considered from the start point, and they could have made this into, an actual other passive, but that is what it is. We then have Novice Summoner. Your summons are slightly stronger. And then we have Battalions, which when attacked in combat, your summoned allies have the chance to protect you. This is what a lot of people will find really annoying when you're attacking other summoning classes in PvP, is that all of their summons have a chance to take the damage away from the actual character. So it's like meat shields, and the more summons you have, the more chance that they will take damage away from you. So that is one of the main defensive features of the Summoner class line. It is random, but it is a nice random chance. So let's look at skills then. Now, there are early classes such as Druid, which do give summon skills, but they are lower tiered, and the summons are not going to be as strong. So we'll just focus on what we learn as part of the Summoner class line. Starting off level 150, fresh tier 7, you get Summon Warg, which is a nice filling type skill. Notice that this summon, it doesn't tell you how many turns it requires, and that means that it requires 1 turn. You will cast it immediately. We then also have Blood Pact, converts a percentage of all summoned beast HP into damage. Now, as we've said, this doesn't really start to get strong until late in tier 10, when your summon Great Hydras and Anubises, they start to have hundreds of thousands of HP. You do need to pair this up with magic damage, but at lower tiers, I recommend you ignore this Blood Pact skill for the moment. Level 155, we get Summon Dragon and Summon Slime. I like Summon Slime for consistent damage. Summon Dragon can start casting Sleep Dart, which, it is useful, but dark damage, again, very commonly resisted or immune. Level 170, we then get Summon Colossus. Not too bad. It does require 3 turns in battle, a bit more tanky. You could start using this in your first skill slot instead of like Summon Slime, and then have Summon Warg as your filler until we get Summon Hydra. You then have Life Pact, which uses 10% of your total HP and spreads that to summons. Now, this could be useful if the Summoner class line actually had high HP, but generally it doesn't. So this is generally not very useful throughout the line. You're kind of better off just waiting until a summon dies and then resummoning it with full HP. Finally, at level 175, we get an absolute awesome skill, which is Summon Hydra. This is going to be your bread and butter for tier 8 for sure, and even a little bit into tier 9. Nice and tanky, lots of HP. You start off with like 17, 18, 20k starts off with, and gets stronger with the higher tier classes. It does require 3 turns in battle, so that means when you learn it, you want to put that in your first skill slot and have filler. When I say filler, I basically mean summons that only take 1 turn to cast, such as the Warg. Now, that is our Attuner class. Now, you're generally going to want to pair this up with the Bard specialization, most commonly. And that is because first of all, you get Appease 2 as well, which means that enemy AI are less likely to target you, which is, of course, very useful. And when they do target you, there is a very good chance that your summons will actually block the damage. When I say block the damage, they do take the damage. You will notice that they take damage, but at least that damage isn't on your character, causing you to die. Now, you also get Song of Power and Song of Magic, which boosts attack power and can also give temporary attack up, and similarly for Song of Magic. So you can apply these directly to your summons. So basically, if you saw the video at the start, all my summons I gave like attack up or magic up to the slime. So this is really nice to buff your summons, especially for longer type battles such as raids and across dungeon floors. Later on, you can get Anthem of Avalon, which can boost all stats, but notice at level 200 you will be actually tier 9 and will probably move to the different specialization of Charmer. So definitely when you start off with Attuner, you probably want to go Attuner Bard. Skill setup is going to look a little bit something like this, and instead of going Fortitude, you could also use a ward skill, Ward of Mithril, depending, if you're using a shield as a defensive mechanic. But you definitely want Summon Slime, Summon Warg as your filler, Appease 2, and then your buff skills to apply directly to your summons. In terms of starting equipment, as we can wear mage gear and summoning gear. In terms of farming, you definitely want to pick up a Reaper's Robe as of higher quality as you can for those extra orns. Shoes, you can either use just like as high stack, probably better to use high stack gear because the tier 7 attuning legs only give extra foresight, which you don't really need, as opposed to the attuning hood and the attuning chest, which also increase the power of your summons. So those are also very good. Obviously, you want to use that in like PvP and raids. Then, interestingly, there is the tier 7 Hydra Staff. Now, this gives 7% increase to summon stats. It's additive with all other sources of summon stat boosts. But this was only a very recent change, like within the last, when Aethric was released. I think the first week Aethric was released, so that's only new in the game. Tier 7 Hydra Staff gives you a nice reward for hunting down Hydras. And then, of course, if you're farming, so world farming or gauntlet farming, you can, of course, use the Witch's Arc Staffs from Tier 6 Carmines or Carmine of the Underworlds for extra bonus XP. And you're probably going to want to dual wield 2 of them if you are looking to level up as fast as possible. Accessory slots, ignore the Ring of Restraint on this character, but Troll's Charms are fine. Cursed Monster Tombs or any kind of Monster Tombs for experience are absolutely fine as well. We have more than enough mana to cope with the reduced mana from the Cursed Monster Tombs, even high quality. So just, wear tombs and let your summons go to work. For PvP or raids, you can use status immunity gear or you can use HP gear accessories. The choice is really up to you. Okay, moving on to tier 8 then, and the Grand Attuner. We get an additional skill slot, which is always nice. Abilities, it's very much just upgrades of what we had with a tier 7 Attuner. So we get Paired Essence 2, which actually now ensures that your first equipped summon spell will automatically be casted. So you will always have that first summon skill slot in battle now, which is very nice indeed. The Legion Balance, as we talked about before, Legion Guidelight, same as before. Adept Summoner, summons slightly stronger again. And then we have Battalions 2 this time, so a slightly higher chance of our summons to protect us. The skills then, now the Summon Hydra that we learned from tier 7, you're definitely going to want to use that in your first skill slot as your tank type summon. We do learn Summon Garm, which is a 1 turn skill, like a filler summon, so that's probably going to replace Summon Vorg, and then again be replaced by Summon Basilisk once you learn that at level 180, a bit more damage. Bloodback 2, again, we're not really going to be using this until later on in tier 10, so let's ignore it for now. Summon Bear takes 2 turns in battle, so not a great filler skill, and you could probably just keep along with Hydra and Summon Basilisk. For longer fights, you may want to consider Summon Bear, but you can't really go wrong with Hydra and Basilisk up until you get Summon Cockatrice at level 200. Summon Cockatrice, of course, has a chance to petrify opponents, which is pretty safe, so pretty good for PvP and dungeons and world farming. You would suggest. It can do some decent damage as well, causing blight with its skills. As you can see, it requires 3 turns in battle though, so you're going to want to use that in your second skill slot after Summon Hydra. So Summon Hydra, Summon Cockatrice, and then your filler skill at tier 9. The Cockatrice has kind of a bit more HP as well. Soak up some damage. Life Pack 2 in the middle there, use 20% of your total HP to heal all summons. As we said before, our stats are really quite low compared to other classes, especially HP. You have very, very low HP, you know, compared to the Necromagus, level 170 or level 176 here, like 1300 HP less, 3000 HP less than Atlas Vanguard. So 20% of nothing is pretty low, by the way. So generally better off, as usual, letting your summons die and then just summoning them again. So quite similar setup to the lower tier. So typical. We are staying as a Bard spec here, by the way. Highly recommended. Still have the Song of Power, Song of Magic to directly apply power, well, attack and magic bonuses to your pets. So, oops, yeah, Summon Hydra first skill slot, and then Summon Garm, and then if in the future Summon Basilisk when you learn that. Very Scary Skeleton. That is an event summon, very very strong, by the way. So keep, as we said from in the introduction of the video, keep your eye out for event type summon skills. They tend to be quite strong, for sure. Now, at tier 8, you kind of get access to some slightly different gear. So if you're not wearing a Mimic King head, you can search out for a Lost Helmet for increased Orns. Keep the Reaper's Robe for sure for Orn gains when you're farming. In leg slots, you can consider any kind of gear that you can wear for higher stats. In the head, chest, and legs, there is a tier 8 version of the attuning gear, so like Grand Attuning gear, which gives slightly higher summon stats as before. You can also start picking up a Heimdall shield, which I do try and recommend you do, giving us increased ward. Again, so when we do take a hit now and then, we will have it mainly go to our ward. And then your usual farming setup with Black Witch's Staff, Black Witch Archistaff, and it's not until tier 9 where you can start picking up like a questing staff. Of course, for PvP and raids, you probably still want to use Hydra Staffs for extra summoning power. In terms of amities, by the way, I'll mention at the moment there's currently no amities that directly affect summons. I think that should be coming in the future, according to the last time we asked the developers. Until then, you can use just general utility stuff that increase your accessories, or stuff that gives you automatic ward turns, stuff that gives you mana and health regen. Those are all really really nice to check out. So we can just go through a boss dungeon here at tier 8, and we've got the Hydra set up already, and we're gonna spam Summon Garms as we are only level 176 here. I'm not going to use the Very Scary Skeleton. Maybe we get through later. But we've got now all of our summons up, 5 summons up. You can use Ward of Mithril for safety, and Appease for safety as well. And if you really want, you can buff directly our Hydra. I mean, look at the health of your Hydra there, 31k HP. That is really, really tanky. I mean, that's tankier than like any other class at this tier by far. And slowly upgrade, apply attack bonuses to your Garms. Probably not even very necessary. You could just spam Bastion here, which I think I will just do for the rest of this dungeon. Very, very simple indeed. And, oh, Berserk, Great Cockatrice. This could be quite interesting. So, yeah, once something goes down, replace it immediately. You definitely want to keep up maximum amount of summons as possible. I don't have any debuff skills, unfortunately, so we're going to have to Bastion away, and you just got to wait for your summons to deal damage. This is probably a good opportunity to actually go for a longer turn summon skill. Get another Hydra up in battle. There we go. Very nice. But we died. Well, that's a shame. it's not 100% foolproof, but it does happen. That is a berserk great cockatrice. Unfortunately, getting taken down. So in that situation, I probably should have backed out, taken some debuff skills. But I was about to say it's the most foolproof class line. I mean, overall, just look at the gear, by the way. None of this is leveled. So I've got very, very low stats. A ring for strain. So you can see where I'm going there. Normally, if you spend a bit of time, you would have higher stat bonuses here. Nevertheless, that is kind of the gameplay for Grand Attuner. So really, the best thing about the summoner class line early on when you're first leveling is you can still dish out damage without any decent gear. So you see there, up until we met a very tanky enemy, our summons were kind of making light work of pretty much everything, especially the Attuner class at tier 7. So that means you can actually focus on like full farm gear, full experience gear, full Orn gear, full cursed monster tombs and Arisen monster tombs for very fast experience gains. Now we're at tier 9. The summoner class is the tier 9 version. We get a few more skill slots this time, so we have a little more leeway. We can take a few more slots, allowing us to get a few more buff skills up. And in terms of passive abilities, it's very much more of the same. Paired Essence 3, your first equipped summon spell will automatically be casted, and there is also a chance to automatically summon your second equipped summon. So that's also very nice. Again, same kind of thought process applies. In your second summon skill slot, you definitely want to put a summon that is a multi-turn skill and generally stronger, so there's a chance that it's automatically up and running upon entering a fight. Elysian Balance 2, deal a slightly more holy and dark damage. Elysian Guidelight, same as before, which we talked about. Experience Summoner, your summons are much stronger now. And then Battalions 3, your summoned allies have even more chance to protect you. So the skills at tier 9, we're still very much using sort of Summon Hydra, Summon Cockatrice as in utility. But Summon Griever, this is a very nice damaging pet. Damaging summon. You're going to want to. It does require 2 turns in battle, but you are going to want to, especially for longer fights, try and get your Grievers out because they have nice damaging attacks and they can crit as well. So, very recommend using Summon Griever. We also have Summon Golem, which is kind of more of a meat shield type summon. Don't really recommend using it. Life Pack 3 takes a higher percentage of your total HP to heal summons. Requires 2 turns in battle. Now again, I recommend kind of allowing summons to die and then resummoning them at full HP. Sacrificial Pact, new skill, which sacrifices a summon and heals a summoner by the summon's remaining HP. Now, potions do exist, so I recommend using potions before sacrificing a summon. If you're doing hard mode, probably hard mode dungeons is the only place you'd actually use this when a summon's about to die. But it's very situational, and you can, for the most part, forget about it. Rada Pact, this is going to be a very nice part, and a very nice skill to use in your setups from now on. Disperses all temporary status effects you may have to your summons. Requires 2 summons on the field and 2 turns in battle. So now we can actually cast temporary buffs on ourselves, such as like David Channel later on, but also, you know, Sharpen and Foresee, that gives you temp attack and magic, and then distribute those to your summons. So very nice for raids and longer fights. Definitely going to want to slot that in your skill setup. Summon Gazer at level 210, bit of extra damage. You can see if you like it compared to Griever. They are not so dissimilar. Does a bit more different elemental damage. And then at level 220, this is the really awesome skill. You're going to definitely want to use this. The Summon Kelpie. Summon Kelpie, nice and tanky, lots of HP. Also starts to deals physical damage as well, which is really good for most enemies. So this is definitely going to be an important part of your skill setup. going into end of tier 9 and early tier 10. Sharon Pact sacrifices your weakest summon to heal the next weakest. Have a play about this, see if you like it. Definitely not necessary. The usual kind of thing applies where if someone's about to die, let it die and just cast a fresh summon. So at this tier 9, we can of course go to the Charmer specialization, which is like the upgraded Bard, which I do recommend you do. Get the same skills, but you can, the Sonata of Power and the Sonata of Magic, they can now apply double ups, double attack, double magic up, which is super nice. And we still have appease, which makes the AI attack us less again. And Anthem of Blindness, okay, it's level 2 to 5 skill. It can apply potentially offensive and defensive buffs as well. So Charmer for Sonata of Power and Sonata of Magic is the main thing there. I guess we should mention at this point the Sequencer specialization at tier 9, which is a very offensive type spec, but you should note that double cast and quick cast, they can both work with summon skills, so you can actually cast summons twice or take less turns to summon a skill. So it's definitely something fun to try out if you want. Typically it's used mainly at tier 10 for faster damage. So try it out for fun if you're really not too bothered about trying it, saving a couple of turns. The Charmer is definitely the way to go. I would stick with Charmer, so you can apply buffs to your summons. But Sequencer is there, a usable spec. Moving on to, well, in terms of gear at tier 9, I guess for farming purposes, you can look at the questing staffs from Pattison, which just has ward on it, so increases your ward. And again, there are summoner set available from the arena as PvP gear, again increasing your stat boost to summons. And in terms of shield, you have same as before, check out shield. Otherwise you're going to be farming and use your higher base shield that you have at the time, really. So at tier 10 then, you finally have the Grand Summoner. Very interesting class. I'll just show you what the stat differences are compared to the other tier 10 classes. Look at 5k HP less than Beowulf. I'm level 250 here, by the way. All the other stats are less, even less health than Realm Shifter. Literally everything less than Heretic. 6,000 health less than Gilgamesh, and Deity. Yeah, just ridiculous. The one thing to note there, you may have noticed, is that we do have 500 foresight higher than all the other classes as a base at level 250. So bear that in mind if you are doing party play with other characters. You will need to modify your party members. Well, the party members will need to modify their foresight if they want to kind of go before summoners. So finally then, Grand Summoner. I mean, all these skills are the same, but we now have the final versions of them, if you like. So we got Paired Essence for when beginning a battle, your first and second equipped summon spells will automatically be casted. So now both of your first two summon skills will always be automatically cast in battle. So as before, you want your tankiest, higher turn summon skills in your first two slots. So we'll come to that in a moment. It's going to be like summon Grand Hydra and summon Anubis later on. Ascended summons. So if you're wondering how Ascension works with Grand Summoner, not only does Ascension affect like your base stats as normal, like it affects all of these stats on Summoner as normal, but it also increases the stats of your summons, which is really nice as well. And that's one of the things that's going to cause your great hydras and stuff in the future to have literally hundreds of thousands of HP. We then have Elysian Balance 2 again, dealing more holy and dark damage. I would be very interested to see some holy and dark damage type builds in the future. Legion Guidelight again, and then we have Grand Summoner. Your summons are much stronger. Basically, Summoner passive ability, Final Form, and Battalions 3 again. Summoned allies have the chance to protect you. So the abilities really for the Summoner class line all very similar, just getting slightly stronger over pretty much any tier. The skills then, the summons we learn fresh at tier 10. We get Summon Troll at level 225 and Summon Chimera, both requiring 2 turns in battle. Now, decent damage output from Trolls for sure. Just have to bear in mind that it's all arcane damage pretty much, and you just got to watch for arcane immune or arcane resist mobs. Summon Chimera can dish out decent damage, but also likes to cast Miasma a lot. It can be quite annoying. Summon Great Golem, really more of a meat shield to take stuff away, to take flank away from your other summons. Probably not necessary though, like the health that your other summons have at this point is still very high. Blood Pact 3 then converts a percentage of all summoned beasts' HP into damage, requires 2 turns in battle. Now, it's really only at tier 10, and to be honest, not even at level 230, but at level 240 that I recommend you start using Blood Pact 3 seriously. Of course, please feel free to try it out. The things to bear in mind is that it does require magic damage, magic stats as well. So when it was first introduced, it didn't really care about magic and was way too strong, but they changed it to also consider your magic stats. So you do need to build into magic, high magic stat staffs, for example, for this to deal damage. It is elementless damage, so nothing will ever resist it, which is very nice indeed. Very good for PvP as an offensive skill. You can use these straight off the bat, like turn 1, turn 2, especially when you've got beefy summons such as Great Hydra and Anubis. Sacrificial Pact 2, exactly the same story as before. You're generally better off losing a summon and summoning a fresh one. Rada Pact 2, this is going to be a very important skill for your loadout, especially now at tier 10 you have Daephic Channel. You can kind of distribute that temporary buff to your summons. Very nice indeed. Summon Dark Pegasus, kind of a tricky dark type mob, requires 3 turns in battle. And, very high dexterity, so will cause misses from enemies. The only thing there, it does deal dark damage most of the time, which, as we've talked about many times before in this video, is very commonly resisted or immune from enemies. Level 235 against, we have Achilles Pact. Sacrifices all but the strongest summon. This summon will absorb all positive and negative status effects of the sacrifice summons. Now, I have to be honest here, I've never actually used this skill. Experienced summoners may be able to comment down below if this is a useful skill to have. Worst case scenario, if you don't use it, you can just lose your summons and summon fresh summons. I guess if your summons have a lot of status effects, it could be useful to cleanse them that way. Finally, at level 240 and level 245, we get the absolute beasts of this class line, which is Summon Great Hydra and Summon Anubis, both taking 4 turns in battle. These are going to be your main 2 summons in the end game. Anubis can cast sigils and deal high elemental damage, and then your Summon Great Hydra, extremely tanky and very high multi-hitting magical spells. These are going to be your main 2 summon skills for sure, and you want to take that alongside. Generally, in terms of running normal dungeons, you can probably get by with like 2 of them, and then trying to cast another one while they kind of dish out damage in the background. Share that with Rada Pact, and then a slew of buff skills and kind of ward skills, and that's pretty much your dungeon setup up and running. In terms of gear then, at tier 10, again, we have Grand Summoner gear available from PvP. Definitely recommend using that. Pretty much all the gear here is actually event gear, which I'm afraid shouldn't really show you. We'll talk about those in another video. There is a lot of decent event summoner gear. You also get the Arisen Hydra stuff at tier 10 and the random gen Hydra stuff. Sorry, I don't have a weapon. Really not prepared very well here, I'm afraid. Basically, it does deal higher summon bonus. So if you don't have any, if you're wondering what to use and you want to power up your summons, still go for your Hydra stuff. Otherwise, probably defensive. And for farming gear, you have your questing staff as usual. Pair that up with a shield, or if you want at this point, Oracle for summoning. For farming. Once you get the like 25% accessory bonus buff. Hint, hint, Amity Hunter. And at this tier as well, you can consider a Sequencer as an offensive thing to quick cast, double cast your summon skills. As a defensive choice, Cataphract is also usable because you get ward automatically activated. Even better than Cataphract would actually be to find an Amity that causes ward to automatically have automatic war turns in battle, like at least 3, 4, 5 war turns, even better. Then you can stay with Charmer, and that is really, really nice indeed. Now, if you've got any questions about the Summoner class line, please feel free to drop a comment down below, or even better, join the Orna Discord. We've got the Orna Legends Discord. Even main core these days has some nice kind of build help for Summoner class line. There's a lot of experienced Summoner players around to help you out with questions there. Thanks again to the Arisen Orna Legends for supporting my content on Patreon and Twitch. Their support always appreciated, and without them, really, I would not be still doing Orna videos 2 years down the road. So very big thanks to everybody listed here. Now, I will be doing kind of streamlined or focused summoner type videos in the future where we go through a bit more gameplay. But for now, I hope this introduction or overview video was helpful for you guys. Basically, the hardest thing is to find Horus NPC, and then you kind of get up and running with your summoner class line. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Shabash, and we'll see you in the next video. Ciao.